Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the FPCJ briefing today. U.S. President Obama will visit 4 Asian countries, including Japan and Korea, later this month. Before his trip to Asia, today we have invited Mr. Hitoshi Tanaka, Chairman of the Research of the Institute for International Strategy, Japan Research Institute, to talk about President Obama's Asian trip and relations between Japan, America, China, and South Korea. Today's briefing is conducted in English only. Before we listen to what Mr. Tanaka has to say, please don't forget to turn your cell phones to the silent mode. Then Mr. Tanaka, please.
Thank you. Today I'm supposed to be talking about the region of East Asia as a whole, and in the context of President Obama's trip to Japan, I would like to sort of draw a picture of East Asia into the future. We all know that the world is going to be different from what we used to have. We used to have what we call Cold War, then the U.S. Sort of one polar world. Now people say that this is going to be G0 or multipolar world. I think East Asia is very, very typical in this type of changing international order. In my view, there are 3 important features which sort of is being characterized as G0. One is the changing power balance in the region. Second, surging nationalism and populism. The third element, deeper interdependent relationship in the region. Different dynamics, obviously. Let me first touch upon the question of the changing power balance. When I was in the Foreign Ministry, when I was Director General for Asian Affairs Bureau, Japanese GDP was about 15% of the world GDP. At that time, United States GDP took a share of around 30%. China was merely 4% of the total world GDP. In 2020, 20 years from now, when the Japan is going to host Olympics game, Japanese GDP share will be probably around 6%, while United States GDP will be reduced to around 22%, and China will take around 15% of the total GDP. Very clear. There is going to be the changing economic strength, and at the same time we will see the changing military balance as well. China spent probably around 2.5% of GDP, more than that, I don't know, but yet I think the spending in the military field would grow as well. Changing military balance also accompanied by the change in terms of external postures, the diplomatic posture, and also security posture. As I described, the relative change of economic power are not that much if you take the United States and China. China grows, but yet United States is a nation who could grow. United States is a nation who could grow in terms of population as well. But I think important issue here is U.S. external posture has changed. In my time when I was in the foreign ministry, it was George Bush who was the president of the United States. I accompanied Prime Minister Koizumi often to sit in the bilateral summit meeting with President Obama. And I think Obama's policy was known for the world as a kind of unilateralist. United States did not hesitate to use military capability for the sake of maintaining international order. But Obama came in opposing to the Iraq war, and I think having seen all this sort of huge economic cost United States had to pay in order to maintain the war in Iraq and also the war against terrorism, Obama, under President Obama, the threshold for using military resources has gone up. I do not expect that United States would wish to use their military resources easily into the future. That is very representative in terms of the handling of question of Syria, handling of Iran, and also the question of Ukraine as well. We do not expect the United States would intervene militarily into the question of Ukraine. So probably people may see that given the change in terms of military posture on the part of the United States, U.S. deterrence power has gone down. That is a change taking place in the world. So the first important element, there is a changing power balance, economic power balance, military power balance as well. That is very representative in the region of East Asia. That's point number one. Point number two, important feature of the kind of G0 situation in East Asia is that we see nationalism, surge of nationalism in Japan, in China, in Korea, and surge of populism as well in this country, in China, in Korea as well. Take the case of Japan. I think Japanese nationalism is very much based upon a very deep frustration Japan had out of what we call lost 2 decades. For the past 20 years, Japan suffered from the inaction. The government changed very frequently and economic stagnation. So people are very frustrated with the very quickly changing government, and all of a sudden, Japan saw a giant at the doorstep of Japan, the huge rise of China. As I said, when I was Director General for Asian Affairs, 2001, China was only 1/4 of Japan in terms of GDP. But now, you know that China is now much bigger than Japan in terms of GDP. So it's a kind of deep frustration, which has led to the surge of strong nationalistic public sentiment. The Prime Minister Abe is known for his conservative nationalistic sentiment. He wishes to return to the days when Japan was strong, so economically and also in terms of the pride people should have. So he talks about a change of constitution. He talks about the change of the sort of historical perspective. Therefore, I think we now see a much stronger nationalistic sentiment in this country as well. In the case of China, situation is a little bit different. Clearly, China has grown, and people in China has acquired much stronger confidence. But yet we all know that China has got huge domestic issues, such as income disparity, such as worsening environment, such as the bribes of the high government officials and sort of thing. So China needs to address the social issues. And nationalism sometimes would be kind of destructive, because according to, I mean, in terms of the perspective the communist government has, the nationalism may find a target in the communist government. Therefore, Chinese government takes two very clear steps. One, China pursues what we call big power relationship with the United States. New model of big power relationship. That sort of concept may have been proposed to satisfy the mind of the people, that they would like to be a strong big power, and having a big power relationship with the United States is maybe seen as an important step for satisfying the people's sentiment. The other thing is the relationship with Japan. Given the potentially strong nationalism in China, and given the possibility that nationalism may, end of the day, will find the target in the government, Chinese Communist Party considers that they should take much tougher measures vis-à-vis Japan. Much tougher measures vis-à-vis Japan. If not, the people may sort of start sort of moving to target Japan. So this is where we are. Chinese stronger nationalism. That is very clear phenomena in China as well, Korea as well. So this surge of nationalism, as a result of changing power balance, as a result of much assertive external policies, we see the stronger nationalism here and there. I was taking part in one of the big seminar in Korea, was it 2-3 weeks ago? And at the beginning of my panel, the kind of e-voting took place. E-voting meaning that about 500 people there, and every one of them was given the Samsung tablet, and they voted for the question. Question one: do you think that Japan and South Korea would have military conflict? The second question: would Japan and China go into military conflict? The first, against the first question, about 15% said yes. Japan and Korea will fight. And against the second question, 50%, the Korean audience, almost everyone was Korean, said that Japan and China will go into the military conflict. To my credit, after my statement or panel discussions, that number reduced by 10%. So but yet, it's amazing, isn't it, that people in Korea think that there may be military conflict in the region between Japan, Korea, between Japan, China. So that's probably the danger of the surging nationalism. The third element, which I think is a positive element, that is the deeper interdependent relationship. The same thing to the question in Europe, Ukraine issue. Probably the President Putin thought that there is a strong backup from the people, strong nationalism. Russia would like to be big. Russia considers that European Union has expanded to come to the border of Ukraine. Ukraine, Putin might have thought that they cannot lose Ukraine. at least the Crimea needs to be there. But at the same time, Russia and Europe are so interdependent economically. Therefore, everyone hesitates. The whole question is a question of east part of Ukraine. There is a strong sort of competitive force between stronger nationalism and deeper interdependent relationship. The same thing in this region as well. As I said, stronger nationalism, but at the same time, deeper interdependent relationship. Nobody wishes to disturb that interdependent relationship. China doesn't want, because for China, economic growth is very, very important in order to address the social issues I described, the question of income disparity, environment, and all sorts of things, in order to have the economic growth. China needs to maintain a strong interdependent relationship. In order to maintain a strong interdependent relationship, they wouldn't like to see conflict vis-à-vis the rest of the world, in particular in East Asia. The same thing applies to Japan. Japan considers that for the future of Japanese economy, Asia is crucial, and East Asia is crucial as well. Chinese market is very, very crucial. Therefore, we should like to maintain this interdependent relationship. Same thing applies to Korea. Korea is basically export-oriented nation. They would very much like to make investment abroad. They would like to compete with the rest of the world by exporting products. So they would very much like to see interdependent relationship, peaceful world. Therefore, this deeper economic interdependent relationship is a positive element. So think about all this. There are three elements that's very representative of what we call G0, changing power balance, the surging nationalism, populism, and deeper economic interdependent relationship. So when you think about strategies, when you think about the stability in the region, you would have to think about those three elements. You would have to address those three elements. I would very much hope that President of the United States, President Obama, comes to Japan, he will address all those three important elements. Let me explain my wishful thinking. Let me explain what we would like to see from the President's visit to Japan. First, the question of security, regional security. I do think that Japan and United States needs to produce a strong, clear statement that we would not like to see unilateral action on the part of China, forceful unilateral action to change the status quo. That statement must be very, very clear. Second, I would like to see President of the United States to make a clear statement in relation to Senkaku, the island, because the Senkaku is under the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty. Therefore, U.S. Secretary of State or Chuck Hagel stated often, but yet I would like to see a very clear statement from the United States that Senkaku is under U.S.-Japan Security Treaty. Third, I would like to see some encouragement by President of the United States in relation to the question of Japanese security law. As you may know, I'm sure you know that there has been discussions regarding the reinterpretation of collective self-defense. I side with a kind of limited reinterpretation of the Constitution. I support the transparent and very sort of deep discussions in this country. And I think we need to think in terms of needs, not necessarily the sort of huge statement, but yet we need to think what role Japan should be playing in the real world. And if you think that way, there are two important functions Japan needs to play. One is clearly the question of peacekeeping operations. Japan doesn't have full-fledged function in relation to peacekeeping operation, because Japanese peacekeeping operation under the UN has a very strong limitations, because they are fully sort of equipped with weapons, but they really are not supposed to be using that. So I think there would have to be the sort of limit taken away from this peacekeeping operations. Point number one. Point number two, in case of the Japanese national security to be threatened in a serious way, I think the interpretation of the Constitution regarding collective self-defense needs to be relaxed. Because, I mean, when I was in charge of national security and the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty in 1996, we sort of agreed upon the role of Japan in terms of the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty. We decided to expand Japanese role in terms of supporting of the U.S. military in the region. That led to various registrations. But yet it's all to do with the question of how to defend Japan. And given the sort of changing technology and all sorts of things, you simply cannot distinguish between self-defense and the the collective self-defense situation. Therefore, with very clear sort of legislative action, we need to reinterpret the Constitution so that we could exercise the collective self-defense in specific cases. And again, this will help Korea. This will help Japan, United States, and Korea jointly make a plan. Having the right plan against the possible military aggression on the part of North Korea would deter North Korea to take absurd actions. At this juncture, we cannot make plans. Why? Because Japan is not supposed to be having the collective self-defense measures. So the rule of engagement is not there. So with the reinterpretation, the most important result which could come about from the reinterpretation of the Constitution about collective self-defense is that indeed Japan can join in the making of a deterrence, making of the possible military plan along with United States and South Korea against the possible military sort of aggression on the part of North Korea. So under those type of limited circumstances, we should have the collective self-defense. But yet again, discussion needs to be very transparent, and we need to get understanding on the part of the nations in the region, including China and South Korea as well. So this is a kind of issues which we would like to see happen when the President of the United States come to Japan. But at the same time, there is a need for Japan and United States to work to improve the security situation in East Asia. I think this sort of joint efforts to improve the security environment in the region has been lacking. There is a strong need for the creation of confidence in the region between Japan, China, between Japan, Korea as well. And again, we need to be mindful about the kind of distrust China and Korea has vis-a-vis Japan in relation to the interpretation of the past history. I think Japan needs to be realistic. Japan needs to take a realist view in relation to all this. For instance, the Murayama statement, which was issued in 1995, it was not just Murayama statement, it was a statement which has been endorsed by the government since Prime Minister Murayama's government, not just LDP, but DPJ as well. Every government has endorsed the Murayama statement. So it's not just the question of the interpretation of the history on the part of one Prime Minister. It is a very clear policy announcement on the part of Japan. So if you were to change that, you would have to explain why you are changing it. I do not think that there is sufficient reason why that Murayama statement needs to be changed. Therefore, I would hope that at least the current government, in a very clear way, endorses Murayama statement as long as Kono statement. That needs to be the basis for the creation of confidence in the region. With all this, I would very much like to see kind of confidence building setups, confidence building frameworks. United States and China is pursuing what they call new type of military relationship. There are differences between United States and China, but at the same time, both of them see a strong need to make management so that military conflict will not occur. The same requirement is there between Japan and China, Japan and Korea. And I would very much like to see some type of trilateral, quadrilateral arrangement. Japan, Korea, United States is there in relation to North Korea. But it may make sense for us to have quadrilateral, Japan, Korea, China, the United States, not just for the question of North Korea, but for the sake of confidence building, because those four nations are direct entities to discuss about military confidence in the region. So I would very much hope that into the future, that sort of type of quadrilateral confidence building format will emerge because of the need for the establishment of military confidence. A second important element, important wish on the part of myself in relation to President Obama's trip to Japan, that is a question of economy, question of economic partnership in the region, TPP. For Japan, the interest rests with TPP along with RCEP. Only when Japan succeeds in completing TPP and also RCEP, the East Asia Regional Partnership Agreement, that will lead to much broader Asia-Pacific free trade agreements. That is something which we should push we should push. The TPP has different purposes. TPP is a set of rules which represent much more open economic system. I would very much hope that China, end of the day, 5-10 years from now, will join in that. Because Japan, United States, and Korea, Australia, and other nations wish to maintain open market, free market. China undoubtedly will be expanded. But people see China as kind of state capitalism. There is much stronger intervention by the state. You cannot deny the fact, but that needs to be reformed. Xi Jinping talks about the market to become the major force in the Chinese economy by 2020. Good thing for China to reduce intervention by the state companies, state enterprises into the market. So I would very much hope that 10 years from now, the region is enjoying a much sort of deeper interdependent relationship based upon the expanded TPP. But for that, we first need to establish TPP at this stage, and also RCEP, East Asia Regional Economic Partnership Agreement. Second important field in economy is energy. No doubt, the economic growth on the part of East Asia requires more energy efficiency, more energy resources, and possibly more safety of nuclear facilities. I think there is a strong case for East Asia Summit to produce much concrete cooperative measures in the field of energy development, energy safety as well. So both economic partnership and also energy cooperation, those are two important elements to further develop interdependent relationship in the region. Interdependent relationship is clearly positive element which would secure stability in the region. So those are the type of sort of issues I would like to see President Obama and Japanese Prime Minister Abe talk and develop their concept. Finally, let me touch upon the question of North Korea, because North Korean issue is a kind of immediate danger we face. I do not consider that North Korean regime today is a stable regime. I think less stable than Kim Jong-il's regime. Lots of things is taking place. I don't think that there is a sort of balance achieved between the military element and political party, People's Workers' Party element. There's a very delicate balance to be developed. So we need to watch carefully. I do not see there is a leadership competition in North Korea. Leadership, Kim Jong-un's leadership is very firm. No question about it. But but at the same time, there are lots of competitions beneath, in particular between political party and the military. So it will take some time for the young leader to establish the strong sort of regime in North Korea. So anything can happen in between. At this juncture, North Korea appears to be sort of pushing dialogue path, since United States is quite adamant in sort of first setting the right condition for the dialogue, meaning that the clear and visible and verifiable commitment on the part of North Korea for denuclearization would have to be there. That's an important element for the dialogue. We cannot keep on cheated by North Korea. When you have six-party talks, you must have the right sort of promise on the part of North Korea for denuclearization. Meanwhile, North Korea pursues dialogue with Japan. When I was Director General, again 2001, 2002, the same thing happened. America took very strong measures vis-a-vis North Korea, and North Korea thought that improving relationship with Japan would be a kind of their sort of insurance measures, because Japan has got a very strong alliance relationship with the United States. They may think the same way. But again, I don't see. I mean, for instance, in order for Japan to deal with, for instance, abduction issue, I don't think there is going to be a solution without having deep discussions with North Korea. There is a need for that, no question about it. But yet, I think probably only when we have the question of nuclear weapon, question of missile to be heading for the resolution, there will be a kind of package resolution, even in relation to abduction, because North Korea wishes to have something out of Japan. Japan cannot provide anything if North Korea maintains their sort of policies vis-a-vis nuclear weapon or the missiles. So Prime Minister Koizumi used to say a lot, all the time, that there is a comprehensive resolution needed. Comprehensive resolution is needed because, give and take relationship becomes only possible when all the other issues like nuclear and missile are brought in. When I negotiated with North Korea, that was a key component of the deal we had with North Korea. That's the reason why North Korean leader acknowledged the crime of abduction and let 5 people return to Japan. So I would very much hope that this dialogue which is being held between Japanese government and North Koreans will continue. But at the same time, I would very much hope that the sort of measures vis-a-vis nuclear weapon, missiles would be addressed so that we could have a comprehensive resolution. I'm afraid that there might be another sort of nuclear testing on the part of North Korea. I think this time what is very important is the approach on the part of China. On the part of China. The China needs to be very, very serious because you cannot just keep on doing this. You cannot just keep on seeing North Korean sort of action in the field of nuclear weapon, missiles, and China supporting North Korea type thing. That need to be stopped. And this time, I would very much hope that China will exert much stronger pressure on North Korea so that they could come to the table for negotiations regarding denuclearization of Korean Peninsula. So I'm afraid that there may be yet another nuclear testing on the part of North Korea, but again, the Chinese approach to the question would be the key. I am entirely sure that President Obama comes to Tokyo. This question of North Korea and the need for the strong unity among the countries concerned, including United States, Japan, Korea, and possibly China. Korea, that's a quite important issue. So I should stop here, and I would like to entertain your question. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tanaka. Now we enter the question and answer session. We will receive questions from the foreign press people, but one question at a time, please. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and if you are appointed, please wait for a microphone and then give us your name and affiliation before you ask your question. Just one thing I have to tell you is that since Mr. Tanaka will have another meeting right after this Q&A session, so this briefing will close at 11:30. Thank you. Any question? Quinte-san.
Siegfried Niedl, freelancer from Germany. President Obama and Prime Minister Koizumi Prime Minister Abe don't have a close relationship.
How do you know?
I think their contact is very formal. Prime Minister Abe was never invited to a similar to a visit in the U.S. like China's President Xi Jinping, talking for 2 days together with Obama and talking in a very informal way. It never happened with Prime Minister Abe. So I think their personal value is very different. What does it mean for the relation?
I think how to deal with U.S.-Japan relations in the context of changing regional situation, not just regional situation, changing world situation goes beyond the personal relationship between President Obama and Prime Minister Abe. You may be right in saying that there may not be the right personal chemistry between the two leaders, but yet, as I said, the issue they are going to deal with is very, very important. So that goes clearly beyond any personal relationship. And I hope that when President Obama comes to Tokyo, they address the issue in a very, very deep way. I'm not entirely sure how much will go outside, but yet I would hope that two leaders will discuss in a very intensive way how to cope with China, how to make sure that East Asia is going to be a stable region.
Lori-san.
Sorry, Anthony Rowley, Singapore Business Times. The talks between U.S. Trade Representative Froman and Mr. Amari don't seem to have resulted in any great breakthrough. How far do you think this will limit the chances for other agreements between President Obama and Mr. Abe? In other words, how large does the TPP figure in the entire relationship?
I have kind of experience in negotiating with the United States in 1986-87, when there was a huge trade imbalance between the two nations. The whole question is that all this type of trade negotiation, that is an economic negotiation, but yet the result of which is going to be measured by political importance. And clearly, the conclusion of TPP, clearly the conclusion of bilateral Japan-United States discussions, negotiations, and the image that Japan and United States are moving to conclude TPP as the strong sort of pusher, it has an immense political value. And end of the day, I'm sure that President Obama and Prime Minister Abe buy that, because the significance of conclusion of bilateral negotiation would be politically very, very important. So I'm not entirely sure this coming president visit to Japan would be an occasion for that, but yet in the longer run, I have no doubt whatsoever that the discussion negotiation will be concluded. When I had negotiations with USTR, I mean, it was impossible because nobody thought that there is going to be a conclusion. The question of semiconductor, question of beef, and all sorts of things. But end of the day, there was an agreement. So, you know, the point I'm making is when there is a political significance, that political significance will be bought. And again, for the Japanese economy as well, the TPP is very, very important because, again, this third arrow thing, the growth strategy, you simply cannot sustain this economy without having lots of reform in the agricultural sector and other sectors. There are huge vested interest. In order to get rid of them, there is a need for international agreements such as TPP. TPP is a very, very important element for that. So I am entirely sure that at the end of the day, bilateral arrangement will be made and TPP will be concluded. But the question is timing, question of timing. And I very much hope that the Obama-Abe talks in April will be a kind of point of breakthrough.
一番後ろの。
Elaine Kurtenbach, Associated Press. Mr. Hagel has been traveling in the region. I think he has done quite a lot to try to reassure Japan of America's commitment. How satisfied is the Japan side with these expressions of support and solidarity?
I think Japan, I think the mainstream of this nation has never doubted the U.S. commitment under U.S.-Japan Security Treaty. Credibility is there. But one of the lingering doubt, one of the sort of suspicion emerging, not suspicion, but yet uncertainty emerging here in Japan is the question of the concept of big, new style, new type of big power relationship between United States and China. The Chuck Hagel and his counterpart in China also talked about new type of military relationship between China and United States. If that concept is based upon a blank commitment on the part of United States to respect what we call core interest of China, there's some trouble because we do not know what is precisely the core interest of China. And I gather that core interest on the part of China is constantly expanding. So I don't think that United States is committing to that type of new power relationship. But yet, one thing is quite clear in my mind. Japan and United States is an ally. We have alliance with the United States. Any type of new power, new big power relationship or new military relationship does not exist by undermining the interest of an ally. I have the strong belief, I have a strong confidence that the United States will fulfill that sort of commitment. Again, any big power relationship doesn't exist by undermining the interest on the part of Japan. Therefore, that's the reason why I say, let us be more transparent in the trilateral relationship between Japan, United States, and China, and possibly with Korea as well. We are talking about much, much deeper interdependent relationship. Although we have strong nationalism, we have the changing power balance, yet nobody has interest in spoiling all this interdependent relationship. Why shouldn't we not be much more transparent in terms of the military issues? So I would hope that end of the day, this quadrilateral type arrangement will be worked out.
Alistair Wanklin with Fox News. On the US side, there is considerable frustration with the recent actions by the Prime Minister here with the Senkaku, with the Yasukuni visit and the appointments to NHK. And is that frustration going to be solved during this visit? Is there is there understanding on the Japanese side of how angry the US was when the Yasukuni visit took place? And do you think there is scope for fixing that problem in the relation?
I think United States has made a very clear statement after Prime Minister Abe's trip to Yasukuni. The embassy put up a statement that U.S. is disappointed with this. This is an extraordinary statement. I had never expected the United States will say that publicly. They, could have said in private to Prime Minister Abe or to the government that the United States is unhappy at least when I worked for Prime Minister Koizumi, I did not expect President Bush make public statement that United States is dissatisfied with Prime Minister Koizumi's trip to Yasukuni. He did go to Yasukuni Shrine every year for a period of 5 years. So it's an extraordinary statement. So his U.S. feeling has been amply communicated to Japan by that public statement. And I think Prime Minister is much more sort of realistic these days. He made a clear statement in the diet that he sort of endorsed. He has no intention to change, for instance, Kono statement. And I would very much hope that he would make a clearer statement, both Murayama and Kono statement, that the Prime Minister would endorse those, because I sincerely think that Japan has come a long way. Japan has come a long way in relation to the complaint, the dissatisfaction on the part of China, Korea, and the region vis-à-vis the historical recognition on the part of Japan. I took part every sort of important occasions regarding this, like the Murayama statement, occasional Murayama statement, and regarding comfort women and also thing. And we have come a long way by introducing Murayama statement and making a very sort of serious measures vis-à-vis comfort women and all sort of thing. So this is not just the making of one prime minister or two prime ministers. This is the making of a series of the governments. And this is a policy on the part of the state of Japan. So, and I think we should start from that basis. And I'm sure that is going to be understood by the region as well.
高橋さん。
My name is Kosuke Takahashi. I'm working for Jane's Defense Weekly. My question is related to what you said. Looking ahead, next year is the end of the 75th anniversary of the end of the World War II, and also the 50th anniversary of the Japan-South Korean Basic Treaty, Normalization Treaty. And then probably Prime Minister Abe will focus on the post-war history of the Japan economic miracle success development, not touching upon the aggression or colonization of Korean Peninsula. And then probably thinking about Abe's characteristics, he will focus on post-war history. And then China and South Korea again will get angry. Don't you think so? How do you see the history going on from now on?
As I said, this is not just making of Japan. The relationship is made by two parties. So it's not just Japan, it's not just Korea, it's not just China type thing. I think there is a very strong recognition that interdependent relationship existing in the region would be extremely important. Let us not spoil that. I think that is a common sense. That is a common sense, because by spoiling it, you have a very strong disadvantage in terms of the economic management of each nation. No question about it. Therefore, there is a common interest. If China or Korea intend to use the issue of history, there may be a case that the relationship would become more sort of tense. But as I said, Japan has come a long way by sort of observing the very basic line, meaning that Japan made a mistake, and by aggression and by colonization, Japan has created enormous pain on the part of people in East Asia. That is a fact. So, I mean, nobody can challenge that. As long as Japanese government stick to that very basic recognition on the part of the past governments, including DPJ and LDP, I don't see any reason why China or Korea will make it as an issue. And I'm sure we will talk about how to deepen our interdependent relationship, how to create confidence building in the region, how to avoid accidental conflict between Japan and China over Senkaku and all sorts of things. We have a strong stake into the future. At least I would like to think that way.
We have only 2 minutes, so the next question will be the last one. Please, last one. Can you just wait for the microphone?
Lasse Gleising, German Press Agency, DPA. You have talked a lot about confidence building, and you also said that no one in the region has an interest in spoiling the relationship. Well, I think there are many on the side of Korea, China, and as we just heard, also on the US side, who very much think that there has been a lot of spoiling by what Prime Minister Abe has done and has said with a couple of months recently. I'm just wondering, how likely do you think that there will be a military conflict, no matter whether it's intended or, you know, if there's an intention to cause such a conflict, but maybe an accidental military conflict between China and Japan? And would you think that the United States would like to see itself to be dragged into that kind of conflict? Thank you.
I don't see any intentional military conflict. I do not, I mean, again, you cannot rule out a possible accidental military conflict. But yet, there should be measures. There should be frameworks to avoid further escalation of, accidental military conflict. So as long as, I'm sorry to say this, but I don't think any government, including Chinese and Japanese or Korean, wish to see any accidental military conflict. Therefore, there would be a common sense that if that were to happen, we would avoid any escalation whatsoever. So I do not see that the United States will become seriously involved in this. But in order for us to make sure that is the right outcome, we need a very clear statement on the part of the United States that indeed Senkaku is under U.S.-Japan Security Treaty, and that is legally correct, that is morally correct, politically correct, and that is probably the reason why we have not had any conflict on the island. It has worked. The deterrence has worked. So the clear statement, don't we think that if we were not having the U.S.-Japan Security Alliance in the region, things could have been much worse if we let each country's nationalism operate. So I think the region, when I took part in drafting U.S.-Japan Security Declaration in 1996, we made a clear statement that U.S.-Japan security is a public asset in the region. The U.S.-Japan Security Alliance was a positive element to deter any conflicts to take place. And I think that statement still applies. The U.S.-Japan Security Treaty has been and will be playing a positive element in the region to deter any military conflict. And I think that is going to be the common recognition on the part of China, on the part of Korea and other nations. They may say different thing on the surface, but yet deep inside their mind, I think U.S.-Japan Security Treaty has played a very important role and will play an important role.
I think you have more questions, but I'm very sorry. But Mr. Tanaka had another meeting, so I'd like to close this briefing session. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you
Tanaka.
very much. Thank you.